TapCaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast, period. Today we will be discussing the final episode of either season 1 or the whole shebang for the Acolyte. My name is Justin, joined as always by my good friend Corey.
It's me.
Yep. Who's sick and tired of all of these late stream starts.
Yeah, it's totally not my fault ever. But just I guess to jump right into this before we get people commenting, are they ever going to talk about the show this time? Does it change your opinion of the show and of the finale if that's a series finale instead of a season finale?
I mean, I'm just thinking about that tweet. So Joe, but we don't, we don't get political here. But Joe Biden just tweeted out 2 words: "I'm sick," and it was sort of like it was
a lead into cooking Elon Musk, though. So
yeah, which fuck Elon's a loser, but so I don't care. But it's just like if you're a feeble old man, don't tweet feeble old man stuff, even as a joke.
It was pretty funny though. All right. So
I'm sick. Like that's like what my kid, like when my kids fucking wake me up in the middle of the night, standing in my doorway.
Get a text from my dad.
Yeah. Just a few beers. Just go to sleep.
All right. So, any Star Wars news that we want to talk about before we actually do get into the episode?
IGN released some more gameplay footage for Star Wars Outlaws. 10 minutes. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but it looks pretty good. I think they're like crawling inside a Sarlacc. I don't know if we talked about it, but I sent one of my employees, who a lot of you watching the stream know, Zach, down to test the game as well. I don't know exactly how much I can say. Did we talk about this last time?
I think we did talk a bit about it, but everyone was still there, I think, when that was happening. So
okay, so yeah, I don't even know exactly what Zach did. I didn't sign the NBA. I didn't touch the magic basketball and get the Monstar powers. I didn't sign the NDA. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on. And that's kind of how I like it. Hands off. Let everyone else worry about it. But yeah, other than that, I think I saw like a publicity email today for Young Jedi Adventures 2.
Yep. Okay. I haven't watched any of that because I don't think I'm the target audience, but very exciting for, I'm sure, a lot of people, especially people in the age range of my nephews who I have not introduced to any Star Wars.
Or adults who've suffered serious head trauma.
You mean YouTubers who have to watch it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's anything else. The Bounty Hunter remake or not remake, but the port is coming out sooner than you'd expect, given the announcement only 2 weeks ago. Like, I think that's coming out early August, like August 2nd or something. So I'm excited to see whether Aspire has left it in a playable state or not, given what happened with KOTOR 2.
Yeah, we'll see if Boba Fett is tweeting out "I'm sick" just randomly. That's Django, right? I've never played the game, so.
Well, the Boba Fett tweeting out "I'm sick" is just the plot of his section of Legacy of the Force, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Sick leg.
I'm sick of Tanwi not giving me the key.
Help me secure my birthright on Mandalore. Yeah.
All right. So we are at the end of the Acolyte. Episode 8 is in the books. We've had, I guess, technically the resolution to May and Osha's story for the time being. We at least saw how they reacted to hearing about what happened on Brendok. But there's a lot of questions still in the air about where some of these characters could go. We had a cameo from new Supreme Chancellor Mr. Tarsant. I forget. I think he was named. But
yeah, Raincourt.
Tarsant.
Oh, the Supreme Chancellor. Yeah, I forget his name too.
The most important cameo of the night, I think. But
yeah, I'm just as you read it, I saw Leslie Headland just did an interview with someone, and she did acknowledge that was Plagueis in the episode. Spoiler alert. Yeah, sorry, continue.
That was about it. I mean, we had a little bit of the back of Yoda's Last Jedi head. We
Mhm.
know Vernesh
Dude's
was
been old for so long, it's insane.
yeah, he's what? He's 800 years old there. It's not like this
Yeah.
is much earlier.
No, still
And
pretty old.
and it's before his period where he gets on the meth for a while and you get the episode 1 appearance, so
Yeah.
not a healthy time for him.
Yeah, that was bad. That was a tough look. I just want to read before we get into discussion. I'm just trying to skim this article as quickly as I can. Um, and she says about Plagueis, even though they are standing there, sort of looking out at the sunset. That's Osha and the stranger at the end, ready to conquer the world. The tragedy is we know they don't. We know there can only be two. We know Plagueis is there. We know that these two are doomed in some way. So it's bittersweet foreboding. But that's because I know about the Sith lineage and all these other things. Whereas I think a different subset of the audience can be like, they're married. Which, yeah, we know. That's kind of the funny thing about this show. Like, we know she talked about how it was kind of partially, or she was interested in how, an apprentice overcomes their master. Whether that is the case with Kamir or not specifically, we don't really know. But the kind of interesting thing is we know that they fail because we know that
Yeah.
Plagueis seems to be Palpatine's master at some point. So whatever the shenanigans these two get up to, they obviously doesn't go well.
Yeah, like there's been a lot of reaction to Plagueis being there, where I guess the fact that we see him creeping on them for 20 seconds, some people are taking that as like, oh, Plagueis is just hiding in a cave the whole time. But
No.
like this kind of spying is something we see him do in the novel. Like he literally does this. So there's two things that are kind of combined with that, where there's the part where he's in the swamp, he's creeping in the swamp when they fall over, and he's also on the cortosis in the cortosis
Yeah,
mine
he's
going
in the
through the cave.
swamp too.
There was wasn't he in the swamp where he kills two jet like there's the two Jedi, there's the Nautilin. It's been a while since I read that. You might be more up to
Oh, I thought
date.
you were talking about in the show.
No. I
Yeah,
mean like
he kills the Nautilus, the like dark Jedi.
yeah. Like the whole thing with the novel is that he has like showing how the Sith of that era balance their public persona with the fact that they're missing all the time doing these little missions. So I
Yeah.
don't think he's necessarily just hanging out on New Baldemnik. I think like he knows something's up with Kymir and he's
Knew
going to
about
see
that.
what's going on. But
Yeah, I mean, like we see it all the time, and in the book, he's got rivals, even in the more, even in the very short. I guess it's not a short time period of it, but even in Plagueis, he's got Venomous, for example, who's a rival, not an apprentice. He has to fight him, and he's often out doing Sith stuff. He even has
yeah,
that little planet. Remember, like the nature reserve he's got. It's
yeah.
like the what's the political? What's the one called? Where all like the presidents go.
The bomb
Um,
shelter?
is it camp? Is it camp? No, not
Camp
Camp David.
David?
Maybe I don't think that's what I'm thinking of. But anyway, he goes there, and you kind of get the idea that he sort of lets loose a bit there, and he's got like the Sith side, and he's got the political and public facing side. What you got to consider too is they had one shot to show him. It needs to be clear to the general audience who doesn't know who Darth Plagueis is that this is a bad guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's looking pretty sinister. That's not to say like if he ever appears in live action again, he couldn't still be a banker or whatever else.
Yeah, like I think like I'd almost bet that the main reason she wanted like Leslie Headland wanted him in this way is to make sure that he stays in Mun.
Yeah.
Since it's such a short shot and it doesn't impact the story. And like we already had established that Kymir had a Sith master and that he's working against him. We didn't necessarily need to see it, but since she was talking about how there was one thing that she still wanted to bring in from Legends, I think that like him being a Mun, which we talked about a lot on the podcast, of thinking like they're probably not going to do that.
Mhm.
Uh, I think
Yeah,
that is
I didn't
why.
think they would. But I also learned that that was George Lucas's idea
It
for his
was
design as well.
it was like it was a thing that I forget what the exact status of it was. it was sort of his idea. It was like one of the concepts for a Sith, I think. And then Lucino was like, can I use that one? I forget the exact story behind it, but it was.
Everyone like talks about things being George Lucas's idea and like, oh, this was really important to George. Like he had a sketchbook and he probably like pointed and like, here's that one looks pretty neat.
This one was in a goon cave.
Yeah. Does the dog diet set confirms the Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary confirms it's a goon cave? So that's good to know.
Yeah. Well, was there any doubt?
Yeah, no. But yeah, he's creepy and he's, you know, they made him look pretty good. I was pretty happy with it, but obviously, you know, I wouldn't say I was necessarily satisfied by the finale. From the Sith standpoint, I was definitely hoping there'd be a lot more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was really satisfied with the finale as a whole, nor the first season, or only season, if that is the case. But what about you?
Like, I thought it was a fine finale for the show. Like, I think it and episode 5 were probably my favorite episodes. There was so much that I just feel like the show was at its best when setting up for stuff that it wasn't going to pay off, because it was so much less like handholdy with the audience about it. Like the whole before this episode, the Chimera and Vernestra stuff, like you could suss out that connection, and it was obvious enough that you can see there was a connection there.
Yeah.
But like they really laid it out in episode 8, but it didn't go anywhere for the show. And I feel like all the stuff that was central to the plot of the show, everything with Brendock, everything with Soul, and the May and Osha stuff, it felt like the show didn't trust people to put that stuff together.
Yep.
And therefore it kind of retread the same thing, and it ended up feeling too shallow in that.
Which is weird because there really was no room for mystery. Like we talked about this when it was about who was Chimera's, or who's going to be, you know, the stranger. There was really one option, Chimera. The other ones just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I made the easiest money off my life off Ilkin.
Did he actually pay up?
Not yet. I haven't hounded him about it though.
Okay.
But I think I'm gonna get him to like buy me a bottle of like expensive whiskey or something. Although $100 isn't that expensive for whiskey. But the other thing is like I
disconnected elites. Okay.
How much could a banana cost? $16. Fine. You want to talk about disconnected elites? I busted up my tire yesterday, and I gotta pay for that now, a new tire. But
that's why I don't have a car.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, and like same with the other kind of prediction that we got right, or that I got right at least. Big pat on my back was the Vernestra Chimera connection, where it seemed like he had a whip scar, and he definitely did. But I guess the thing that I was maybe most surprised at with this season was how many clear plot anchors they put in for a potential season 2.
Yeah.
I was really surprised by that, actually.
I really thought there'd be specifically payoff for the whole Chimera's got a Shoto, Vernestra has the light whip, which is like a good hint to their connection for people who know that stuff.
Yeah.
But like that again seems like if it happens would be season 2. And yeah, I think that was my biggest problem with the finale, is that there's so much of this stuff that feels like the more interesting stuff it would be coming in season 2, and that took away from the ability to kind of have some proper fleshed out pacing for what is the actual core of season 1, which is May and Osha's reaction to this information they're getting. Yeah. Like I feel like there was enough to set up Osha's turn and May's reaction, because like I've been saying that this is what would happen, or this would be what would happen since like episode 4 or 5, that like May would have this reaction to the information. She'd kind of soften on it when she gets a straight answer, even if she's not like forgiving Soul or anything, whereas Osha would feel a lot more betrayed, and that would be what prompts her to become a Sith. But I still feel like having the actual events to get there, like my thing with the writing in the show is that I think the overarching ideas are good. Like I enjoy the story from like a bird's eye view, but then you get into the actual like point A to point B, and that's where I think the show stumbles.
Yeah, like the idea of twins who are kind of the same individual Virgins in the Forest, like all of that's really interesting. But like at the end of the season, all I was thinking is like, man, if they make a season 2, I just don't really want May and Osha to be in it because their characters, like, they had so much of an opportunity, and like I'm not trying to hate on them or the actress, but like there was not any moment where I found myself really caring or wanting to know more. Whereas like Saul, on the other hand, was kind of consistently phenomenal. So yeah, I don't know, like that's the thing. The bird's eye view, the twins, virgins, it's all very Star Warsy, but then the execution for that in particular just did not work for me at all.
Well, I wonder with May and Osha if it's not just because like it was very clear where they had to go from episode 1. Like so much of the extra information we got about them was just the kind of seeing the same thing again and again. Whereas
Mhm.
with Soul, that was the extra information we got in like the other flashback episodes, seeing what his role was, what his reaction was, because there was more to come out from him. So I feel like in another season, I think there's more for May and Osha to do
Yeah.
that might feel a bit more free. So
Yeah.
I don't think I feel the same way about wanting them gone for season 2, but I think there's more opportunities for them when they're not kind of constrained by that.
My main problem is like I still just never felt like they actually established the characters as real people.
Right.
And like we got the most of that really in the first 2 episodes, especially with like the interaction with what's her name? What was the
Indara? Or
No, the little one who got stabbed 3 times.
oh,
What was her name
Jackie.
again? Jackie, yeah. Like, I thought, like, that helped humanize like, that was good, but it actually helped humanize both of them because they both had interactions with her.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, it's just it moved too quickly, but also, like, too slow at the same time.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure what to feel about the whole oh they're actually one person thing. Like what does that actually practically mean?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they're okay, they're genetically the same. That's a clone. They
They're
have the
clones, yeah.
same symbionts that are together. That's okay. That's just extra weird force stuff. Like they're different. They've had different experiences. Like they each have half of a personality, and then they're incomplete without each other. Is that
Yeah.
what we're supposed to get from like how May and Osha are reacting to stuff? But I also feel like if I was a twin watching this, and I know any of my friends who are twins, like that's
You have
probably a plot
multiple
that would
friends who
piss
are
a lot of
twins?
them. I have yeah, family, friends. I have a couple
Wow.
sets of twins in my life. But I feel like one of the things that tends to piss them off the most is like any idea that they're the same person.
Do you remember I remember when I used to call I was friends with twins growing up, and I'd call their house and their mom would pick up because like back when before we had phones or before we had cell phones and you'd like call their house number and I'd be like, could I speak to Joe or AJ? Like or like I don't care which one. Like I'm gonna invite both of them to hang out. It's like other than one would pick up and I'd be like, hey, Joe? No, AJ. Oh, okay.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just feel like the idea the thing that really gets me with it is like the idea that like, oh, because they're one person, they could be put back together. It's like, well,
Yeah.
did I feel like you ask them right now, they're both gonna say, like, I enjoy spending time with my apparently not sister, but I'm my own person and I want to keep my own experiences. But
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the interest is more in the actual virgins and how that's like fucking
yeah,
around with things rather than the actual product. Like I
yeah,
could see that's something that like Legends Plagueis would have been very interested in because like he's kind of a freak.
yeah. I
Like
think that's what the setup there is. Like this is gonna inspire some fucking weird ass experiments.
right, because like this I don't know if he does this throughout the book. I just remember at the very beginning, he watches people's like midi chlorians as
Hmm.
they die rather. He tries to keep them back to life, but he also like does experiments on it. So I can imagine him in like kind of a weird Nazi way finding
Yeah.
that to be pretty interesting. Like
The
if people are asking like in the comments, like, what are your thoughts on people saying they ruined Darth Plagueis? He was in it for 3 fucking seconds, like if that. Like I don't know how you could ruin it. Like, yes, he looks pretty evil, but like it's to show fans, hey, this is a bad guy. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, him. We already talked about towards the start, like him creeping in a cave is very much in character, and it doesn't mean that's all he does with all of his days. Like that was the biggest thing I saw. I like the idea of him being, oh, he's not around yet. First off, the birthday is we had this discussion with Coyote as well, Coyote, where like the ages aren't canon anymore. They can still take a lot of the stuff, but like the age in that was given in the book was a very rough range. Like
Yeah.
he's already been training with Tenebris for
That to
super
me is
long.
one of there's so many hints when like people get all of their information from reading the Wikipedia rather than
Yeah,
actually like engaging with the source material. And anyone who's like actually really mad about Plagueis having a different age, to me that's like okay, they read the source, they read the Wikipedia page because like when you read the book,
yeah,
Plagueis's age, you read it and like you get the idea. He could be 500 years old. He could be 400, 300 years
yeah.
old. Um
He was significantly older than 100 when he's talking to Palpatine. That's how he says it. Like well
yes.
over 100.
And that's what
Like
he's saying to someone publicly, and that's
yeah,
in because that's Palpatine when he's I think Palpatine is just like he's like a student at that point,
yeah.
and he's like talking to him
He's like a
on,
kid at school.
yeah. So he's telling someone publicly that he's well over 100, and that's 60 years before the Phantom Menace. So that puts him at 160, and I think this is what one is it 140 or something or 130. So
This is
like
like 132, I think, around there.
So like if you're actually really mad about that, like I don't know. I think you're cooked. Like
Yeah,
mentally, I think you might be cooked.
he could be 40 here and then 100 years later for the Phantom Menace. Like that would be 140. That like when he meets Palpatine at that point, Palpatine is 17, so that's around 60
60,
BBY.
I think it was 67 in the book or 64, one of those
Yeah,
two.
so if that's a 70-year-old Plagueis in the cave, then that would entirely match with
Yep.
Legends. Like it's
Another
not.
thing that I've seen a lot of people talk about is they might change the point when Plagueis dies. Because like
Mhm.
I was surprised, but a lot of people didn't like that Plagueis was still around until the Phantom Menace, which
I
I
think it's a
personally
little weird, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's weird because that makes a lot of people think that like Palpatine was an apprentice when
Yeah.
really like in their relationship they had moved beyond that dynamic. At least
Yeah.
like it still existed to a point where like Plagueis would still kind of boss him around sometimes,
Yeah.
but like they definitely Plagueis was presenting it more as like an equal relationship, um, which
Yeah, because Plagueis
Palpatine
was thinking like Tenebris's big problem with him was that Plagueis wasn't making his move against him, and he was very disappointed in Plagueis for not usurping him.
yeah
Because when
yeah
Tenebris was dying, he was then upset when he was reading the Maxi-Chlorians, which let's not forget those are a fucking thing for some reason.
yeah.
He was reading the Maxi-Chlorians and seeing that it wasn't going to be Plagueis that did it, but his apprentice instead.
Yeah, and because Plagueis, he didn't want to. He wanted to stop with the nonsense they've been doing for 1,000 years. Like he wanted to break the rule and kind of just keep it at him and maybe his apprentice, and which is like that's kind of what a lot of the Sith do. Like Darth
Yeah.
Bane kind of did that himself. He also talks about how Plagueis talks about too. In the olden days, when you killed a Sith Lord, you had to worry about their soul coming back and try to jam their way into your body, which is,
Yeah, because Bane might have done that to Xana and then to like every other Sith for the next 500 years. Very ambiguous, very uncool of him to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That is a fun conspiracy theory. I think we talked about that a bit when we did the podcast on those books, the third one.
Yeah, we definitely should do that again. That's like the first one I want to revisit if we ever do.
Oh, I meant in Bane. You want to revisit Plagueis?
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to revisit Bane. I do the first one again.
Yeah,
but I don't want to read it.
I feel like if there is an Acolyte season 2, that'd be a good time to go back and reread Plagueis. I don't know what it would take for Bane to be topical enough to want to reread it. Because at least Plagueis I really liked. Bane, it's fine, but neither of us are as big on it as a lot of people are.
No.
But I mean, kind of getting back to what we started this with, I think like it's not even just like people getting lore from reading the wiki, it's people getting lore from listening to a YouTuber who's only read the wiki.
Yeah.
and them presenting it as like the solid thing. Because like when you get into actually reading a lot of this stuff, like it's hard to have these ideas of incontrovertible lore survive contact with two different books.
Totally. Like, and that's the other like big hint that like, yeah, you don't really know what you're talking about. There's there are contradictions in these stories. Like,
Mhm.
you know, anything pre prequels is going to pretty much be wrong in the, you know, like the Bantam era. It's just going to not know what the Clone Wars in. It's going to say the wrong thing. The timeline is going to be wrong. And yes, like Wikipedia and other encyclopedias have a way to manage that. Usually they'll take the most recent source and kind of layer it on top. But like, to say that there was always, you know, one authoritative answer to like, you know, like Dark Empire, for example, Palpatine implies that he's changed bodies multiple times. Which obviously that was you know, overwritten by other things and out of universe things as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's
I kind of wonder what the reaction to like say the Jedi Academy trilogy came out now and then a show was made out of iJedi where it's
yeah.
like all the Jedi Academy trilogy stuff was happening, but then there's just this new guy who's there for all of it, just commenting on
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, exactly.
Corin.
Like, oh, Dave Filoni's fucking wank insert is in here now, and he's the best Jedi at the Academy.
He's lecturing Luke. Disrespectful.
That is true. If iJedi were made nowadays, especially if Corran Horn was, you know, sassy,
Well,
yeah,
that's like every Bantam era Legends book, and even the Del Rey ones, where it's like Heir to the Empire comes out, Mare is just insulting Luke. Black Fleet Crisis, you have Akana telling him he's basically murdering everyone. iJedi has Corrin and Mara telling Luke he's doing a bad job. The new Jedi Order comes out, and Kip Durin is calling him a bunch of names, and then Justin was dead. I don't know if that's just your camera or if you're entirely gone. All right, I think he's gone. I'm gonna remove and re-add him. It's not working. he he says Disney got me. But yeah, so all right, I'm sure he'll be back as fast as possible. But yeah, I think one of the things that I'm kind of concerned with Plagueis, even if they do a season 2, is that it's everything we were talking about with why he might not be around in the first place. Where like it having the alien characters like that are oh it says he's here. I'm just gonna maybe tell him to no. Here he goes. Here he goes. Okay, you're back.
Disney's got shooters everywhere.
You're off the you're off the tour.
Yeah, I'm off the tour.
But
Yeah, you're saying people are mean to Luke, and yeah, they are all the time.
yeah, so I guess to get back onto the
Oh, you know
Acolyte.
what would have been? Remember when what's her name? Is it Alana? She lies about
No,
Luke's mom.
Akana. Yeah,
Akana, yeah. She lies about Luke's mom.
that plot is so in like the fact that
But
they
people
were
would have
like,
been
let's
so
write
angry
this.
because yeah.
I'm doing
What the
a
hell? His mom's
series.
dead. And then oh, you read to the end and she's lying. Watch the end or read to the end of your media, and you might be surprised at some of the discoveries.
Yeah, it turns out all the things that may seem like plot holes might get explained at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm
Might get
doing a
Star Wars
series.
explained.
Wow. Friend of the show. But yeah, I'm doing a series of books or a series of videos about like books that people who like different shows might enjoy.
I was kind of
And
surprised you didn't put Plagueis on your Andor one, actually.
well, I don't want to double it up everywhere because then it's like I'm just going to recommend Plagueis for everything, and I'm recommending Plagueis for Acolyte.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about recommending Black Fleet Crisis specifically for the Falinasi stuff. I ended up saying maybe don't do it because the rest of it's not that connected, and the characterization of Leia is bad. But I still brought it up.
And I thought you were gonna say Black Fleet Crisis for Andor as well when you're talking about look at the. Anyway,
It's
yeah,
just that part isn't. I feel like it
yeah.
wasn't handled even as well as the Rebellion.
The only thing
But
that book handles well is the military stuff.
yeah. But just because like the Force cult being used a different way, criticizing the Jedi, that kind of stuff, I thought the Falinasi stuff was worth bringing up.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, it's hard to recommend that to people now because like, oh, there's this entire plot that you're gonna go in knowing is completely baseless because Padme
yeah,
was not a Falinasi.
yep,
Uh, but yeah, so the thing that concerns me with even a possible season 2 with Plagueis is that like all the things we said about why it would be difficult to use him for much like Yord's Padawan still applies.
yeah.
So if he had to have a bigger role, that's kind of I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Um, I was also gonna mention it is funny how like when the prequels came out in universe, like in the book timeline, Luke also got like a lore dump from R2D2. Just like I think is that what book is it he gets that in? It's
That's I think that's in Dark Nest when Gent is
yeah.
trying to slice it for him, and then
Yeah,
there's the
they're like,
recordings
"Hey,
of
you might kill
Anakin.
R2." Yeah, he's like, "Oh." He got access to Wikipedia basically.
Yeah, like that was fucked up because like Luke was willing to just have him have the chance that R2 would basically explode if it went wrong, and then it ends with R2 playing the recording of Anakin choking Padme, which I guess R2 had just kept in the banks for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing with that one,
Mm.
but
Well, what did you think of Soul's interaction with May and Osha there and his explanation for what he was doing?
it's good.
It was good. All right.
Yeah,
Great.
I like the fight too. The fight was really cool.
I did enjoy the fight. I thought his reasoning sounded worse in
Yeah.
his explanation here.
Should have
Worse
been
than
like,
I'd been giving him
"Listen,
credit
your
for.
mother's ghost was so spooky. You would have done the same thing. I didn't know she was teleporting."
Yeah, like I was expecting him to say it was an act like I misunderstood the situation. I thought I was doing what was best for you, but I can see how I made a mistake. It's like, no, I meant to kill the bitch. Like, what the
You would have too. She was nasty.
I always tried to teach you not to smoke.
Yeah. She was so not chill, you wouldn't believe it.
I felt like that kind of drew back some of the sympathy for him,
Mhm.
even if he went out telling Osha it was okay to choke him out, which I guess that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a great character. Sad to see him get choked out like that. I don't know what else to say. That sucked for him. But I thought the lightsaber bleeding was a little silly. Just like I didn't really like the way it was handled, where it literally kind of looked a little space ballsy, where like
Yeah,
I am evil
his
now.
Schwartz is growing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my Schwartz has become infected. Like,
I've never been a huge fan of the Kyber
no,
bleeding
I
concept
really
in the
don't like
first
that either.
place. Like I thought it was okay here. I thought it was fine in Jedi Survivor as well.
I think it's goofy in the Darth Vader comics as well.
Yeah.
I think most of those comics are fairly goofy, but yeah, I thought Jedi Survivor so far has been the best.
Yeah, that's probably
Like,
true.
like I don't need to see Darth Vader battling inner demons for 6 issues to know that like he bled the crystal. Um,
Like, yeah, I think it's the intentionality of Dagon doing it that kind of sells it more for me. Where like
yeah,
Osha doesn't know about this. Maybe she does know about it as a concept. I don't know. Maybe that is some knowledge she had, but like Dagon is very clearly and Vader like, oh, I want this. I want a red one now.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. It's cool.
yeah, kind of sad that we like. I think the biggest disappointment is that we didn't see another fight between Vernestra and Chimere. Like I did really like the fight we got between Soul and Chimere, but
Yeah,
it seemed like that's where we were going. I was like, oh, when she got to the planet, how are we gonna have time for this? I checked the time, there was 17 minutes left. Like,
yeah,
oh,
same.
she knows he's there. There's gonna be something happening, and then sadly, the light whip was only ever used to cut a bug in half.
Yeah, that sucked. When I kind of figured it would happen when I saw her like show up with the whole squad though. Like she had like 30 Jedi
Yeah.
with her. I was like, okay, like 6 or 7 or however many there were in the first party. Yeah, you get 80 of them dead. Like Yoda's probably gonna have an Inquisition.
Yeah. But is Yoda gonna have an Inquisition now? Like how much is Vernestra telling him about the cover up that she's doing now?
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's another thing I saw some people say that like everyone knows about the cover up when like that's not the case.
No.
Everyone knows. Like people think the cover up was the Jedi covering for Saul. They don't
Yeah.
know that like there's a second layer. It's only
Yeah.
Vernestra that knows that.
Even the fucking annoying guy thought like his first thought on getting to Kofar was that Soul was doing it, and Vernestra kind of took advantage of that
Mew
because she's
or
trying to protect Chimere.
what was his name again? Yeah,
I've not
Mog
bothered
or
to learn.
something. Yeah, he was a nerd,
Mog.
total nerd.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, it's like what basically her explanation was one Jedi went bad and he went really bad, but he wasn't a bad guy. He just, shit spiraled and that wouldn't be the first time, I'm sure.
But she
But
also thinks she's describing Chimere there, I think. So, like, as
yeah,
far
I
as
think
she's
so.
concerned, she's not necessarily lying. She's just lying about like, she's implicitly letting them come to the decision that it is Soul that she's talking about. Because from her perspective, it's not that Chimere is some outside force and clearly a Sith or something. It's here's this person I've trained before,
Yeah.
is a Jedi, but now has lost his way, and it's up to me to protect him. And then we end up in the same cycle.
Yeah, it seems to be like that. I don't know how much she's going to tell Yoda, but presumably a bit more than everybody else. Or else, what's
Yeah.
the point?
Yeah, like I feel like she could be mostly honest in that conversation with Yoda, still take most of the work upon herself, and then it still doesn't have to be the case that like
Yeah.
either of them know anything about the Sith for this. There is the possibility that this is used to explain how Yoda knows about the rule of two, like some connection through this, while still keeping the Jedi ultimately in the dark about the Sith. I think that is the biggest, like the hardest circle to square in prequel Jedi knowledge about the Sith, but like I feel like any speculation about that gets the same issue as Kiadi, where like jumping to conclusions.
You do have some like the Darth Bane stuff in the Clone Wars. Like my idea, I
True.
guess, is that like maybe they thought Bane tried to do it and then died.
He tried to do a sick jump and didn't make it.
He tried to do the rule of two, then just got headshotted from Tilted Towers. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
It's too bad Revan wasn't there for the Clone Wars with the Yuuzhan Vong. That was
Revan wasn't there?
wild.
You mean the character, the mind-wiped Jedi killer now serving the Jedi? Oh, sorry. You said Revan.
I see you've read Twitter as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it counts when it's the master going, or when it's the apprentice going after the master.
No, I don't think so either.
But if in season 2 May's combat style is running around tables while throwing grenades back at people, we'll know that's Revan.
Yeah, like time stops and suddenly there's a med pack on the ground. You can use the med pack from the menu.
And then someone makes the sound. That'll always stick with me. I did get some Kreia vibes from what Chimere did with like the throw the Shoto and lightsaber situation.
That
More
was
of
cool.
like a harder hitting version of it, but I like
that fight was hard. The Kreia fight was pretty tough.
Not when you max Force Storm and then use Adrenal Stare or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that because when I was a kid, I'd always just play as like the Guardian, I guess, because I was too stupid to figure out like the. To be fair, it's a tough game for a kid. Like the D&D mechanics are not intuitive compared to like other RPGs. Like I would be like, oh, I'll use the power attack because he does a front flip.
Yeah, the last time I played it, I played with the restored content mod, and I'm not sure how much of the like there's parts of the game that got very hard from that, I think, and parts that got way easier. And I don't know. I kind of want to replay the game without the restored content mod because I can't even remember what's actually canon from it or not anymore because it's just so much was cut. Like, is Basil canonically dead? I think so.
I don't remember. I've only played KOTOR 2 maybe twice. The first time I played many times. Uh, the hardest part of those games for me is always that fight against the Sith Lord on Terrace, like right like the last fight before you leave,
Yeah,
because I purposefully I think you do the same thing. I don't level my character up until I get to Dantooine because
yeah,
you get extra force points.
yeah.
So I always find that last fight very, very difficult because you're in like a small room against that. I forget his name. He's like the Sith, the bald one with. I think
Is
he's
it
got a
Bandon?
goatee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Bandon.
Bandon. I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
The Well, my problem as a kid was like I'd always want to max the like social stats, and then I couldn't do combat very well at all because I'm like, you can't lightsaber
Oh
someone with
yeah,
charisma.
I
I
was the
just
same
didn't
way
understand what they were
when I
doing.
was a kid. I was always like, gotta max out charisma, gotta get persuade 1 and 2. When like
Yeah,
now I'm like, why?
I'm going to shoot that man.
I think it's because like I didn't want to miss any part of the game where like
Yeah,
you could always use force persuade. Well, I think there's like persuade 1 and 2, then also like a couple of force persuade points you can put in,
yeah.
plus the skill. Yeah.
I think one thing that I'm definitely gonna use. No, I, I hate Paragus. Paragus is annoying as shit. But
That's the asteroid, right? The first
yeah,
part.
where you start in KOTOR 2, where it's just you, Atten, and Kreia, and it's like
At least you get the
really
force right from the
establishing.
beginning, though.
Yeah, that's good. And
The
like,
terrace is such a cool location.
yeah, there's so much going on there. I like the party in KOTOR 1 is just so much more likable than KOTOR 2, where
And
everyone
memorable, in
in
my
KOTOR 2
opinion.
is kind of an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, Kreia is like obviously memorable. Um, and the villain, like KOTOR 2 is also just very. It's very dark. I mean, I'm not saying anything mind blowing here, but like every part of KOTOR 2 is like dark. The villains are legitimately scary. When like Darth
Yeah.
Malak, he's like a cartoon villain, basically. Like, yeah, his jaw is kind of creepy, but like it's creepy in like a Star Wars way,
Yeah.
and like he's like basically laughing and blowing planets up, and like it's silly. Like it's silly when in like the second one, it's like, yeah, this dude is like skin is falling off and is like being held together by the force. This guy like maybe eats planets or something, and then I don't know what this bitch's problem is, but she's freaky. Like, so it's like just it's even the planets are like they're all dead, and the Jedi Order has been like kind of wiped out as well. So
That's the other weird part to me is like I tweeted about this, but like the KOTOR 2 Jedi Purge is like at least as successful as the Order 66 one, and even in media that is set around the same time, uh they just never mention it. Like it never comes
yeah,
up
it's
again.
really
In
weird.
Tor, the Jedi Order's perfectly fine. No one cares. Bastila was still running around at the same time. She'd left the Order because of marrying Revan, but it just wasn't a. It was basically a blip. The books don't really talk about it that much. It at least
Yeah,
is in terms of long term impact.
yeah. It's just they didn't want to make Dantooine this nice cozy planet anymore.
Yeah,
Dantooine's like my favorite planet in the first game because it's so like, oh, you're in this like beautiful. I remember Dantooine back when KOTOR 1 came out was like the most visually impressive thing ever. Like I showed my mom, I remember she's like, "Wow." Like, yeah, I'm solving this dispute between these two houses.
those are the
It's
best
so good.
missions in KOTOR. The trial on Manon and the Dantooine murder case.
The best mission though is when you've got to help the Twi'lek dancer get the audition with the Hutt, and you can choose to just run around in circles. Really fuck it up for her.
No, couldn't be me. Light side only. But
They'll
okay,
they'll die anyway, so who
yeah,
cares?
well, that's they can at least enjoy their last moments on Earth space.
And I guess the underground mole people, they survive. If you finish their plot, they head off to the promised land, and I think canonically they're supposed to survive the bombing.
I didn't know that. But anything else in the Acolyte that we haven't talked about, like
The
Chimere?
fact that we're 10 minutes into a KOTOR conversation tells us probably not.
We've talked about Soul. We've talked about Mayanosha. Talked about Vernestra. Talked about Plagueis.
Why did that little weasel do that?
I don't know. There's like a whole other show going on with him, and he's just fucking an agent of chaos.
He just hates cops.
He's a James Lucino.
He fucking
He's a
hates
James
cops.
Lucino book.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing I've seen. Like everyone, like what was Basil doing? Like,
Yeah.
what's his deal?
Like the thing is, Tynans can usually speak basic too, so he's fucking with everyone.
Yeah, and like he probably knows a lot of shit as well.
Yeah.
Did he see Chimera? Because he's not like a cat. Like he's a sentient being. He's got a belt on, for Christ's sake.
He's very intelligent.
Yeah, like he's holding his own. He doesn't want to be naked. Like he's got, esteem and he's got pride and like. I'm trying to think. He must have seen Chimera because he at least saw him be carried away by those fucking creatures. So
yeah, he's been he can tell Yoda everything.
Yeah.
Maybe so we don't necessarily know that Plagueis. No, we did know the interview you saw said Plagueis it was Chimera's master specifically.
I don't think she really
actually
says that. No.
So Plagueis could be in his apprentice form right now. Like Tenebris could be around.
Yep,
but
sure.
Basil could also be the Sith Lord, and Plagueis is Basil's apprentice.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's just trying to save May. Maybe he's scared about flying through an asteroid field. I think it's more likely that Basil is a Sith Lord. The Sith Lord. And we're setting up for a Yoda versus Basil duel at the end of season 2. It'll be like both sides are Yoda in the hangar duel and in the Senate Rotunda duel.
I'd like to see Basil versus Yoda. That'd be very exciting. Lots of flips.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this? The article says that at one point she thought about having Plagueis pop out at the very end, like when they're on the rocks together, kind of like celebrating. Do you think that would have been better? I think that might have been.
I think it would have been better, and I actually think part of it was the pose. I feel like people wouldn't have had the negative reaction they did if he was just kind of standing in the shadows rather than like doing the creep. Like
he looks like he's post scamper.
Yeah,
he's scampered into that position.
He's either mid scamper or post goon.
Maybe both. He's a Sith. He's got great powers.
It's like, then it would. I feel like that would imply less to people that he's just hanging out there, rather than like he came here knowing that's what.
Because why is he hiding if they're already on their ship and gone? I guess, but yeah, exactly. I think that would have been better as well.
Yeah, like ultimately, I don't have any problem.
I call that clip.
Okay, fine. You already have like. Look, do I need to send you my analytics to show you what my income's been like the last couple of months? I already showed you the list of the patrons.
It's very sad.
It's a very bad month. I bought a house and then all the money went away.
Listen, I've got my child in town now. I got to take care of.
That's true. You've had a 4th child.
Yep. I was like to Kelsey. I told Kelsey, I was like, Kelsey, I'm gonna leave him alone for a few days. Like I want him to survive on his own. And then that night I was like, Kelsey, I'm gonna go get a beer with Charlie. She's like, you're not. You're gonna leave him alone. I did. Left him alone. Yeah, I was like a little worried about him. She's like, you saw him, and I actually had seen him like just the day before too. So for those who don't know, who are listening or watching, Charlie, who works, I've worked with since 2018, I guess, maybe 2018, maybe 2019. No, because it was before. Yeah, 2018. He's in Halifax, where I live, for a couple months. So,
because
he's got a goon cave.
With the three of us was 2019, so I think it would have been even earlier than that.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a year for you guys, but anyways, yeah.
I mean, I can find it. Let's see.
Find the Fortnite stream or whatever that the stupid AI scraper had taken from X2.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, he's here. He's pretty close to me as well, like in location.
Not emotionally.
No, not emotionally. So yeah, it's been fun. I met him for coffee yesterday. We haven't had our night out yet. I don't know if we're gonna do Birrio together tomorrow. It kind of, I think, depends on how my children are. So we'll see.
It just makes me sad seeing all the shit he's up to right now. He seems like he's thriving, which I'm very happy for him.
He does, yeah.
But the fact that I'm probably not going to be able to come down when he's here makes me sad.
Yeah. It looks like Zach might not be able to come down until later as well.
Yeah.
Thinking in October. He's thinking an October trip. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep you all updated on when our trips will be, unless there's anything else you wanna bring up about the Acolyte.
Nope, I think that's it.
So that's the end of the season. So the episodes for TapCaf, I think, are probably just going to move back to Thursday. We'll get back to books.
Are you guys doing the book tomorrow?
So yeah, tomorrow night, Ilkin and I will be talking about Temptation of the Force. Justin, you will not be joining us for that, and therefore it will not be available on your channel.
Have you finished
like any of the book ones? I stopped reading it because Ilkin hadn't finished last week, so I have like 20 pages left that I need to finish still.
Did you like it?
I don't want to forget. It was fine. I think it was top half of the High Republic for me, but not as good as Convergence or Rising Storm, which I think are the particularly good ones. But
better than Light of the Jedi.
People, yeah, for me definitely. But I've seen it in a lot of High Republic fans haven't liked this one, which is weird because I've liked it a lot more than most of the other books.
To me, this one felt like it was meant for the High Republic stands because we're getting, the romance, right?
There is some romance there.
I'll probably be in the chat tomorrow. So,
all right, so that'll be on youtube.com/Corey's Datapad for Temptation of the Force tomorrow. Then next week, next Thursday, the 25th, the plan is that you and I will be talking about New Jedi Order, Force, Heretic 1, Remnant, the Star Wars edition.
Yep.
So we'll be hopefully getting through the rest of NJO before another show is on. I think that's a reasonable goal because Skeleton Crews by the end of the year, it'll be a holiday show.
I think 4 books left. So
yeah, and we'll throw in maybe the Invasion comics between then as well.
Yeah.
All right, but that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you for listening, everyone. Would you like to say goodbye to the nice people?
Goodbye, everybody. I've got to pee so badly. Please end the stream. I'm not even joking.
All right, ending the stream so Justin can start his.